Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Let me introduce myself. My name is Rahma Firdausy and I'm from Universitas Sebelas Maret Surakarta. I will presentation my article. My article is about creative thinking based on mathematical reasoning ability in solving geometry problems in high school. So please enjoy my presentation and let's begin. And I will start with introduction. Educational goals in Indonesia. The purpose of mathematics education is to produce students who have skills in solving problems and foster high interest and motivation in mathematics. The main focus of education today is no longer about teaching reading, writing, and arithmetic gain. And Indonesian has score of 379, and it means which the score is far below the international average, which is 489. This shows that there are problems in learning mathematics at school in Indonesia especially. And based on the analysis of PISA result 2018 is to be successful in the PISA test, students must be able to reason mathematically and be able to use concept, procedure, facts, and tools in mathematics to describe, explain, and predict phenomena. And mathematical reasoning plays an important role in students' thinking skills, both in solving problems and in conveying ideas when learning mathematics. And what about indicator of mathematical reasoning? Indicator of mathematical reasoning ability include the ability to draw conclusion, perform mathematical manipulation, provide valid argument, and the last is present mathematical statement. And students with classification with high-level reasoning ability, moderate mathematical reasoning abilities, and the last is students with low mathematical reasoning ability. And to solve mathematical problem that requires logical reasoning, students need the ability to think creatively. Creative thinking skills will help students express mathematical ideas to solve a problem in unique way. So, correlation between creative thinking and mathematical reasoning is all based on the criteria of mathematical reasoning, which include mathematic reason, algorithmic, and the last is creative reason. This shows that creative thinking and mathematical reasoning abilities influence each other. So, based on this description, I want to describe students' creative thinking skills in terms of mathematical reasoning in solving geometry problems. And the next slide, I will talk about my method in my research. This research use is descriptive qualitative method, and the instrument that I use is instrument by instrument research, and supporting instrument is test and interview. And the subject, this test is I give to 30 students, and based on the result of the student reasoning test answer, students were classified into students with high, medium, and low reasoning abilities. Based on this classification, the most unique answers from each category were selected for further analysis. 5 subjects were selected by purposive technique sampling to then be tested for creative thinking skills and interview. And the next is result and discussion. I decided students with 3 levels, students with high reasoning, moderate, and low reasoning. And one, I will talk about students with high reasoning ability. Definition: students with high reasoning ability is students who are able to fulfill all or at least three indicators of mathematical reasoning ability with good category. One, I will talk about fluency aspect. So from picture 1, 2, and 3, subject can give three different possible answers to find the set for the length, width, and height of a block. And the result of the interview show that subject 1 is able to re-explain the step for finding possible set size of the block in the detail and easy to understand. So the subject 1 can be in fluency aspect. And the subject 2 in the student with high reasoning ability, subject 2 could re-explain the steps to get the answer, even though it was only in the form of a brief explanation. Subject 2 mentioned that the first step is to describe the formula for the surface area of the block and describe the length, width, and height. Then subject 2 tried to match some numbers and get to answer a sound on the answer sheet. You can see in this sheet that subject 2 give the two answer different ways to answer. And the next is subject 3. Subject 3 gave different answer from answer of subject 1 and subject 2. We can see subject 3 give give a natural number. In picture 1 is decimal and in picture 2 is fractions. And we know that subject 1 and subject 2 answer with integers number. And the next is flexibility aspect. The flexibility aspect is related to how students are able to solve problems with different strategies and how students are able to explain the problem-solving process. And the next is subject 1 is able to write more than one solution strategy. The first way is by using the concept of a triangle area comparison, and the second is using a quick formula. And subject 2 was able to write two solution strategies to find the distance from a point to plane. And subject 2 could re-explain the computation steps even though subject 2 had a little difficult in descriptive than subject 1. And the last, subject 3, the answer was given by subject 3 is not correct because subject 3 is not careful when calculating. Based on the result of writing answer and interview subject 3 didn't master the flexibility aspect. So the flexibility can be filled by subject 1 and subject 2. And the next is originality aspect. The aspect of originality is related to the ability to think original, which means that students must be able to come up with new ideas that are not common. The criteria in this study is students only used by less than 10% of students in the class. So this answer can be categorized as new answer. And for subject 1, based on the result of written answer and interview with subject 1 has not mastered the originality aspect because the strategy chosen by subject 1 is also used by many other subjects. Subject 1, written strategy with use sin alpha. And the next is about subject 2. Subject 2 has not been able to understand the question correctly. So subject 2 doesn't. So subject 2 can reach the originality aspect. Same with subject 1. And the last subject 3 use cos alpha formula. Based on the result of written answer and interview with subject 3 has met the originality aspect because the strategy chosen by subject 3 is used by less than 10% of students in the class. So the strategy can be categorized as an original strategy. And conclusion for students with high reasoning ability is 1. The 3 subjects with high mathematical reasoning abilities were able to fulfill 2 of the 3 aspects of mathematical creative thinking skill. And the second is only one subject is able to meet the originality aspect of mathematical creative thinking skill. Is subject 3. So from the conclusion, subject 1 can be mastered for the fluency aspect and the flexibility aspect. And subject 2 can be mastered on fluency aspect and flexibility aspect, same with subject 1. But subject 3 is different with subject 2 and subject 1. Subject 3 had mastered on fluency aspect and originality aspect. So we can go to next slide. Students with moderate reasoning ability, fluency aspect by subject 1, we can see that based on the result written answer and interview with subject 1, it is known that subject 1 has not mastered the fluency aspect. Because the subject 1 didn't know how the difference between block and cube. So this picture on the number 1 it is a cube, not a block. It is not accordance with the comment in the question. And the second picture is not correct because the final result doesn't show the value of 150 centimeter cubic. And the next about fluency aspect subject 2, we have conclusion based on the result of written answer and interview with subject 2. It is known that subject 2 meets the fluency aspect because subject 2 can give 3 different answers and is it true? And it is true, sorry. And the flexibility aspect of subject 1, we have subject 1, based on the result of written answer and interview with subject 1, it was found that subject 1 had fulfilled the flexibility aspect. We can see because subject 1 give 2 completion steps. This steps 1 and this is steps 2. And the next, subject 2 doesn't master the flexibility aspect in the indicator of writing various problem-solving strategies or providing valid arguments related to the chosen solution strategy. Because subject 2 didn't understand about the question. So the answer is not correct too. And this is about aspect originality. Subject 1 has not been able to meet the originality aspect because the final answer obtained is incorrect. And the originality, subject 2, M2 doesn't mean the originality aspect 2 because the final answer given by M2 is not correct too. So the conclusion for students with moderate reasoning ability is the students with moderate mathematical reasoning abilities only need one of three aspects of mathematical creative thinking skills. Subject 1, just master the flexibility aspect, and subject 2 only master the fluency aspect. And the last is for students with low reasoning ability. Subject 1, based on the result of written answer and interview with subject 1, it was found that subject low 1 had not been able to fulfill the fluency aspect. Because the subject 1 didn't understand what he read, what he says, so the answer is not correct too. And about flexibility, subject 1 wrote a solution related to calculating the distance by using the ratio of the area of triangle. However, subject 1 only writes one solution step. The completion steps written by subject 1 are also detailed and systemic. But subject 1, it was found that subject 1 is not able to fulfill the flexibility aspect, because for flexibility aspect is you must answer more than one strategies, and subject 1 is just give one solution. And the last is about originality aspect. Based on the result of written answer and interview with subject 1, low ability has not been able to fulfill the originality aspect because the final answer given by subject this is incorrect. Yes. And the conclusion about low reasoning ability is in the subject with a low level, the subject doesn't meet any aspect of the mathematical creative thinking ability. Subject can only provide answer that can achieve the fulfillment of aspect of creative thinking skills. And we have a conclusion. One, most students with high reasoning abilities were able to fulfill two aspects of creative thinking skills. And the next, students with moderate reasoning abilities only meet one aspect of creative thinking. And students with low reasoning abilities couldn't fulfill any aspect of creative thinking abilities. And fourth, students with high reasoning abilities could provide answers in different ways easily and were able to provide two different solving strategies. Students with high reasoning abilities tend to solve problems in more detail and coherently. Sixth, students with high reasoning abilities were also more proficient in solving problems compared to students with moderate and low reasoning abilities. Students with moderate and low reasoning abilities were not able to answer problems in an unusual way. And the last conclusion is students in the medium and low reasoning categories were only able to answer questions but have not been able to fulfill aspect creative thinking well. So this is the last about my presentation. So thank you and have a good day.